You do not replace us. You do not replace us. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Have you ever wondered what it means when people say that race isn't real or that it's a social construct? First, what it doesn't mean is that we should all be blind. No, we can all see that there are some physical differences between us. What it means is that the level of importance that we ascribe to those differences are completely arbitrary. In other words, how much we differ by race is not based in real biology. When we study developmental psychology or the process of enculturation, we quickly see that the way that we learn culture or the way that we interact with each other is all socially constructed and learned in our early years.
Our beliefs about race are based on old ideas from a great chain of being from medieval Christianity. This states that nature is composed of hierarchies that begin with God and goes down from there, so starting from greater to lesser. In history, this has been used to justify not only treating animals however we want, but also colonized people as slaves. Despite how we now look at race, from the 19th leading into the 20th century, this ideology was used to rank Europeans and even justify inequalities among them, most notably Italian and Irish populations in the US, but several others as well. Science has found that when it comes down to our physical variations, which includes skin color, 94% of it actually lies within what we call racial groups. In other words, two Europeans can often have more physical and genetic differences compared to a Northern European and a person from West Africa.
I bet some of you out there are wondering, how does this make sense? Especially because we can clearly see there's a bigger difference. Well, this is where our bias comes in. We have all been brought into a world where we see skin color before nearly any other feature. But objectively speaking, our skin color is determined by such a small part of our DNA that it cannot determine if a person is, for example, better at sports or smarter. That's not how our genes work. We currently use race to classify between skin colors, but we could have defined race by eye color, the amount of body hair that we have, blood type, whether or not we have an attached or detached earlobe, or even height. Keep in mind here that among different populations in Africa, we can have some of the tallest people in the world and also some of the shortest. So even the traits that we link to skin color are completely arbitrary. There are some physical traits that developed over time in specific geographic locations. But even these traits, like hair texture and nose shape, are still terribly inconsistent. Again, how we define race isn't real, because skin color isn't as important as we think. This is not to say that traits are not inherited. No, they definitely are. Hence we have skin color and other traits like eye shape and nose shape. Human populations just have not been apart for long enough in order to develop distinct races.
In the early 19th century, science even used race to rank people, just like the great chain of being mentioned earlier, where Europeans were ranked at the top, while Africans were ranked at the bottom, being said to be biologically closer to apes. But race was only ever a form of control, linking superior traits to one group and inferior traits to other groups. This is most apparent in Latin America, where the casta system clearly ranked people of different racial combinations into a neat little box. To say these have no effect on modern history is a bit naive. The meanings we create matter, and the meanings created in North America, while a bit more subtle than Latin America, are quite similar. So, when we call a person a racist, despite all the negative feelings we might have, it is a reality that many people buy into the race myth. Some believe that by just looking at a person, you can tell whether they're violent or peaceful, or brilliant or stupid. This is why wearing a hood after the murder of Trayvon Martin was seen as a powerful symbol, because a black man wearing a hood was seen by some as something to fear. A racist belief is anything that allows you to rank people, deeming them as inherently lesser than, based off their recent genetic history.
The reality of all of this is that Europeans historically had to make sense out of all the native peoples that they encountered on their voyages of discovery, creating what we in anthropology call the anthropological other. Many of the meanings created back then, now several hundred years ago, were retained because some people could profit off enslaving others. Even though they created these meanings so long ago, we've had to wrestle with them ever since. These philosophical issues were and are taken up by social scientists, who have historically played a huge role in maintaining this dominance over native peoples around the world. So in thinking about this issue, how do you think that the way that we treat race have directly influenced your lives?
Or in general, what are your questions, thoughts, or feelings towards this issue? We'd love to hear about them, so leave them down in the comments below.
Thanks for watching.
Peace. Love you.
Use your hands more.
I feel like I am.
Bring them higher.
Higher. Are we preaching or what?